OK, let's focus on transfers, shall we? Dharmesh Sheth is back alongside me. OK, let's rattle through some of these stories. Noni Madueke, what's the latest on his future, Dharmesh?
This one is developing, David, because we were told that Arsenal would probably approach Chelsea after the FIFA Club World Cup. Well, it's accelerating because Arsenal are now in talks with Chelsea over a move for their forward, Noni Madueke. Initial contact has been made between the two clubs. We expect those talks to develop. Madueke, significantly, is understood to be open to that move. Personal terms on a long-term contract, not expected to be an issue if a deal can be agreed, of course. So Arsenal now are pushing on with this deal for Noni Madueke. They are now in talks with Chelsea over the potential signing of the forward. OK,
so how might that affect their potential pursuit of Eze? Because we know that Arsenal fans are excited about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, this is the question I've been asked since this news broke about Madueke. Our information is, at the moment, it's not going to have an impact. That could change, clearly, but Eze remains a primary target for Arsenal in this transfer window. Internal discussions are continuing at Arsenal over what their next steps are going to be, because the deal to bring in Eze would require the triggering of a release clause. His release clause is £60 million plus £8 million in performance-related add-ons, which in total is £68 million. So if they were to meet that release clause, they can speak to Eze if Eze wanted to speak to Arsenal. However, if they want to negotiate on that release clause, then they would have to ask Crystal Palace for permission to speak to Eze. Now, when you negotiate a release clause, some people immediately think it would mean trying to lower that value. Sometimes it can mean actually paying more than the release clause in return for favourable payment terms. But that is for down the line. At the moment, he remains a priority target for Arsenal.
OK, so Madueke, Eze, both great attacking threats, but neither of them an out-and-out striker, which is arguably what Arsenal need the most. So where are they at with that?
Yeah, it's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It has been for the last 3 or 4 transfer windows. Are Arsenal going to sign a striker? Well, talks are continuing between Arsenal and Sporting over their striker, Viktor Gyokeres. There is a gap in valuation that remains, with Sporting thought to want £69 million, including add-ons. Now, while the clubs, we think, aren't too far away from a compromise on an overall fee, it's thought that how much of that fee will be guaranteed up front is going to be key to getting this deal done. Arsenal are understood, though, to be encouraged and impressed by Gyokeres' desire to want to come to Arsenal. He has decided that that is where he sees his future career. 27 years old, his first taste of Premier League football, and he wants it to be at Arsenal. They have, though, Arsenal done due diligence on a number of other strikers, which you would expect, because if this deal cannot get done, because Sporting will dig their heels in, they will want the price that they feel is right for Viktor Gyokeres, then they will move on to other targets. It has been a complex one, this one, because there was all this talk about gentlemen's agreements between Viktor Gyokeres and the Sporting Lisbon president. And if Gyokeres stayed last season, which he did, he thought he could leave for less than £60 million. The Sporting Lisbon president was said, that is not going to happen. Hence why they are looking for €70 million plus €10 million in add-on, which comes to around £69 million is what the asking price is.
OK, across North London, strikers also on the agenda for Tottenham Hotspur. What can you tell us on them? Right,
this one shouldn't come as a surprise, because the new Tottenham Hotspur head coach is Thomas Frank, formerly of Brentford, and he managed very well Johan Vissa. And there is an interest in Johan Vissa from Tottenham Hotspur. No official contact, we think, between the clubs. That could change soon, however. Tottenham, though, have been exploring the conditions of a potential deal, what it would take, financial-wise, to bring Vissa to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Interestingly, Brentford are unlikely to want to allow Vissa and Bryan Mbeumo to leave in the same transfer window. So if Tottenham or another club were to get their hands on Vissa, I just wonder if it will become increasingly difficult or problematic for Manchester United to try and get their hands on Bryan Mbeumo. As far as Vissa is concerned, he's got 1 year left on his contract, turns 29 in September. Tottenham Hotspur will probably think that they can get a reasonable deal given those parameters on his contract just now.
And I'm guessing United are keeping an eye on that situation whilst they continue to pursue Bryan Mbeumo. So where are we at with Bryan Mbeumo?
I think Manchester United will remain relaxed about their situation simply because I think there's a cautious optimism that they can strike a deal with Brentford for Mbeumo still. Like Arsenal and Gyokeres, United are discussing internally what they're going to do next. Their last bid was worth £62.5 million. It was £55 million up front, £7.5 million in performance-related add-ons. Now, overall, that is not too far away from what Brentford would want. We think that Brentford want around £65 million. However, it's going to be how that amount is going to be paid. So United would probably want to do that with performance-related add-ons in there, whereas Brentford, we think, want the majority, if not all, of that £65 million to be guaranteed, be it over 3 or 4 years. But they would want, at some stage, that £65 million to be paid by Manchester United. United are going to stay disciplined with this deal, as they are with most of their other transfers in this window. However, they do know that Bryan Mbeumo wants to come to Manchester United, and that could work in their favour when they're trying to do this deal. However, Brentford and their sporting director Phil Giles earlier on last month has actually told Sky Sports News that Mbeumo would be happy to stay at Brentford if this deal did not materialise. But he did admit that there is a deal to be done there. Personal terms, we think, are not expected to be a problem for Mbeumo.